First of all, I want to thank you guys for joining us again on the Dean's List. We're here in Black History Month. And guess what I brought with me today? Black history. I have my mom, Barbara Julian Dean, the Sparrow. She's in the house today. We're going to be talking about her books. She's an author. First of all, she's a writer. She's an author. She's an educator. She's a pastor. She's a motivational speaker. This young lady here does it all, especially when it comes to Black history. Not only has she trained me and my family up in that area, but she's also helped the community in the same thing. First of all, Mom, I'm gonna say Mom, guys, but Mom, yes, I want to welcome you on the show again. She's been on my show a couple of times, but today is very special because we're actually in my new studio and we have her sitting on the couch. On the couch today.
I'm happy to be here.
She's on the couch today. So first of all, tell the people who you are.
They call me Barbara Julian Dean Sparrow. I'm a Chicago author and artist. And I am super happy to be here on this day in terms of Black History Month and being able to share some thoughts in regards to our great and vast Black history.
Yes. And I want to say this to you guys. If you don't enjoy this show tonight, I don't know what's wrong, because she's going to be telling you about a lot of history today. My mom, Barbara Julian Dean, the Sparrow, not only did she raise us, she raised a village. That's why I talk about the village all the time, because most of the people who know who we are and grew up in our community know who Miss Barbara Jean Dean Foote, the Sparrow, is. They know who she is. When we mention her name, the first thing they do is they mention, oh, I remember when she used to do this. And she was the first Oprah. I'm going to put it that way. She did everything that Oprah has done, and they took it further because times changed. But she was the first Oprah to me. When I look at her and how my life was raised, how I was raised, and me and my brothers and sisters were raised, I look at her and say, wow, I was really raised in a great, great, great environment. And that environment put me where I'm at today. That's helping others. That's being caring for others. But first of all, putting God first.
Amen.
Okay, putting God first. And what I want them to know, what I want you guys to know about my mom, Barbara Julian Dean, the Sparrow. Do you mind me just calling you Sparrow tonight?
Just call me Sparrow.
Okay. Okay. What I want you guys to know about the Sparrow is this. She has, is it 4 books, Mom? Or how many books is it?
4.
There's 4 books. But tonight we're going to be talking about a couple of them that I actually have in my hand, which is Sparrow Speaks. This one right here is deep, guys. This book has every one of your artists in it, and she's done a poem for each and every one of them. And I'm not talking about she just did it. She knows these people. We're going to be talking about this tonight. She also bought her other book, is Did You Know? African American Inventions. This book is actually dedicated to my older brother, Donald Dean. Yeah. He passed away, but my mom had it in her heart, and she bought this spirit out, and she knocked this book out, guys. When you got to get this book. So we're going to be telling you about where to get these books and everything. But first of all, tonight, we want to find out a little bit about you, Sparrow. We want the people to understand who you are, how you came up, and where you came from. So can you tell them a little bit about your history and how it led you to where you're at today?
Well, I came up on the north side of Chicago. And as we were speaking about our Black history, I came up around a lot of young artists that became very famous in their lives. And I'll just take a moment and just give you a name of a few. I came up in Cabrini on the north side of Chicago. And at that time, these will be names that you do know and artists that you are aware of. Mm-hmm. I grew up with Curtis Mayfield, who lived on Hudson Street. And he's a singer and an artist. And I have Major Lance, who lived on Mohawk Street. He was a singer and a dancer. Right. Sometime I had an opportunity to dance with him, but he just left me like I was standing still because he was so gifted and so talented as a dancer and as a singer. Came up with Ramsey Lewis, Ramsey Lewis lived right next door to me, up the same walkway. I lived on one side, he lived on the other. And I grew up with his little sister, Gloria. He had two sisters, Gloria and Lucille. I came up with Gloria, and this back in the day, I know I'm gonna date myself by saying this, but we had these wide skirts on with the little hula hoop going through it. And we had the little lace shoes, and we had the bonnet hat with the big bow in the back with the ribbons hanging down the back. Mm-hmm. That was my upbringing at that time. But later, as the years went by, I want to talk a little bit about Jerry Butler.
Well, before you get to that.
Yes.
Before you get to that.
Yes.
What I wanted the people to understand was that you were raised with talent around you. It's a reason why God places everyone in certain areas. And all these names that she's mentioned today, some of them have went home, they're with the Lord now, but when you talk about them, it's so much history about them. I can hear these stories over and over and over again. What I want them to know, we know that you grew up with these people, but you used to tell us stories about you guys being the groupies.
About who?
How what we call groupies now.
Yeah.
How you were the groupies back
groupies then. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about
that. A little bit about that? Okay. I would share with you about Curtis Mayfield, who I said lived on Hudson Street. Now and then after school, after high school, he'd come past the front where I'd be sitting, where my grandmother had that trellis with the morning glories all over it. And he would stop and tell me about the different things he was doing with his new group that he had. And he was very excited about it. And I was glad to hear what it is he wanted to share with me. Mm-hmm. And of course, always encouraging him to be the best that you could be. So later on, when they got together, I'm moving up now. Later on, as he went on with his group,
right?
I was in the room on the north side of Chicago with the sister Doris. Her two brothers mm-hmm. were a part of the group, which were the Impressions. I'm sitting on the couch, and they had this piano over there with those old yellow keys on it. And they began to play that song. I believe I was around 13 years old, maybe 14. And they began to play the song. Doom, 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 doom. That was the beginning of the song for the Impressions. For your precious love.
Oh, wow.
And I sat there and I listened as they doodled on the keys. Mm-hmm. Now, Doris, those were her mother's brothers. Okay. Those were her uncles.
Right.
Talking about groupies, mm-hmm. which we didn't name ourselves that, but that's what we were.
Right.
It was Doris, Maxine, Leela, and myself.
Right.
It was four of us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were Doris and her uncles were a part of the group. Mm-hmm. Everywhere they went, we went along with them. And they used to go, Curtis Mayfield used to go over to Lincoln Park and walk through the Lincoln Park in the evening with the group. And they would sing a cappella. Well, us girls, we 12 and 13 years old, mm-hmm. we would walk behind them and listen and enjoy.
Right.
And we always knew we were all right because we were all with family.
Right.
So that was a part of us so-called, back in the day, being groupies.
Let me ask you this. Now, was that like, when they were doing the singing and the guys would do, you know, you guys got a chance to watch these movies, The Temptations, and how they started out. Was that like being in a village though? Like, did everyone, family members know Curtis Mayfield, Jerry Butler? Did you guys know each other? Did the parents know who you guys were? Did you all sync up?
They were, that was, like everything has a beginning, and that was their beginning at their age. Maybe they were around 15, 16 years old, 17. In that area. I'll tell you about how Jerry Butler was brought into the group. Curtis Mayfield was the lead, mm-hmm. and the group was his, mm-hmm. that I told you about, the uncles, and then Sam that sang the bass.
Right.
And then, of course, Curtis Mayfield had that high octave that he sang with. Mm-hmm. He called in Jerry Butler to join them in the group. Mm-hmm. And I remember this building down the street from Doris's house. Mm-hmm. It was an abandoned house. Us girls, we went down in the hallway, while the group went in this open room, and all the glass in the building was broke. It was an old house that they could use to sing in. So the group came in and gathered, and us girls, we stood in the hallway so we could listen to the group. And then in came Jerry Butler. And Jerry Butler came in and talked with the group, and when they began to sing, all of a sudden, he turned his back to the corner of the wall and took his hand and put it over his ears, and then he began to sing. And that's when he first got in with the group, when he was invited in by Curtis Mayfield.
So what was the name of the group when they first started? What was the name of the group?
The Impressions.
The Impressions.
For Your Precious Love was the song that Curtis Mayfield was beginning to sing along with the group.
Okay.
As they went along. So that's as much as I can tell you right now about how, but everybody was young. This is in their beginning years when they were learning, they were homing their skills, learning about how they could sing and the way they wanted to present themselves. And we were just the groupies, the girls, standing on the sideline, being quiet and listening to them as they sang and enjoying every minute of it.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then later on, of course, they became very, very famous. And Curtis Mayfield began to write many, many wonderful songs. And Jerry Butler began to branch off on his own one day and sing his own songs, solo songs. And my sister Carol, her name was Carol Johnson, became a part of Jerry Butler's group.
Right.
And she traveled with Jerry Butler for 5 years in that group.
Now,
so they sectioned off later as they got older.
Right.
And everybody was singing their songs. They were popular now in the news. They were doing well. And he separated himself off, Jerry Butler did. And my sister and them were a part of his group.
Jerry Butler's group. My question to you, Mom, Sparrow, but Mom at the same time, is what do you think you growing up around all of those type of people has something to do with your creativity, or was it something that was inside of you already?
It was something that was really inside of me already, because at 15 years old, I became the little news reporter, self-made, self-directed news reporter in Cabrini. And I would go around the seniors and talk with them, knock on their door, because I knew everybody knew me, and talk with them about what was going on in the community. And I kept my little clipboard under my arm and my little glasses on my eyes, and ask a lot of different questions.
What about the writing out of you?
I always taught you all as you came up that in life that everything has a beginning, and that is true, and that is so. And I began writing like at the age of about 8 years old, but it came about in a very, very strange way.
Right.
I wound up in my life being separated from all of my siblings, my sisters and brothers, and it was 9 of us. And it happened like this. One day, my grandmother was ironing on the ironing board, and back during the day, they didn't have Velcro like they do today to fasten over your shoes and fasten over your jacket and these things. All they had back in the day was safety pins, and big ones, smaller and smaller and smaller. And my grandmother had the safety pin on the ironing board where she was ironing. She was very attentive. My grandmother Julia, loved her dearly, very attentive. And she had knocked the safety pin over on the floor. And she asked me, she said, Barbara Jean, that's what they called me, Barbara Jean. I had to be 6 and a half, not even 7 years old yet, I don't believe. And the safety pin fell on the floor down in front of me. And she said, Barbara Jean, give me the safety pin. So I got down on my knees and I started patting the floor and carrying on because I couldn't find the safety pin.
Right.
And it was one of the big safety pins. And Grandma Julia said, Barbara Jean is right down there in front of you. And I just kept on patting and patting. And she observed me. And she said, it's right there. And until I struck it with my hand, I hadn't felt it. When I struck it, then I picked it up and I handed it to my grandmother.
If you're looking for funding from $10,000 to $400,000 with a business startup, working capital, real estate investing, franchise, or stock investing, and have a 650 credit score with an annual income of $30,000 a year, contact DNA Loan Services at 708-888-1460. There's no upfront cost, no out-of-pocket expense. We have a 99% approval rate. So call now, 708-888-1460.
My grandmother, being very attentive, told my mother, who back in the day was a maid. My dad, he worked at a plant over on Western Avenue. The plant was 3 blocks long, and he worked there for years and years and years. And my mother, she was a maid, and she worked as that for years and years and years. She had this black uniform with the white apron around and white braid through the hair.
Right.
And she was a diligent and hard worker. She never liked to take off from work. And my grandmother was talking to her. She said, Juanita, she said, I think you need to take Barbara to see an eye doctor. And my mother listened to her, but my mother wasn't excited about taking me at that time. She doesn't like to take off from work. She's a diligent worker. So she's listening to her, okay then, and time went by, a week or two or more. I was bumping into walls upstairs and going through things.
Right.
And my grandmother Julia addressed my mother again. She said, Juanita, I think you need to take Barbara to an eye doctor. So finally she gave in and she took me to the eye doctor, to make it short.
Right.
When we got there, the eye doctor checked my eyes and said to my mother, Juanita, I'm very glad you brought Barbara Jean in. She's going blind. I was going blind as a child. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. That my grandma Julia recognized that something wasn't right. I was too young to understand. Even though I was going through changes, I ran into the bath upstairs wall and fell on the floor and almost broke my finger, just bumping into things. But I wasn't able to express myself to explain that I was going through this.
Right.
So anyway, they began to give me the eye drops, and then they began to make glasses for me that were so yay thick, you wouldn't believe it. And then they had these little French wires that went around glasses. Now you gotta remember, this is back in the day.
Right.
And here I was with this cute little face with these great big glasses hanging over my ears. Right. And one day they let me know I had to leave Jenner Elementary School, where all my sisters and brothers went to, and they put me on a yellow bus and shipped me off to Talcott Elementary School, where they had special classes for people that had problem with vision.
Right.
So that's how I got separated. I never ever went to elementary or high school with my sisters and brothers. The Lord had another journey for me. And then when I didn't understand it then, but that old song, they say you understand it by and by.
Right.
I understood it by and by, because I used to say, why I have to be separated from my sisters and brothers and can't go to school with them. And I have to leave Cleveland Street, go over to Mohawk Street, up to Cambridge Street. As a little girl, I was about 6 and a half going on 7, and wait for that yellow school bus to take me to go to Talcott High School, which was way west. Well, I went to school there, and it was at that school that I began to write, because it was a special school I called it a school for special needs people.
Right.
You know, so some had for sight, some were slow, and some were asthmatic.
Right.
They had an area in the school that was looped like a hill, and the children that had the aspirators, they were in that center part of the school, and they would go down that hill. So they go to lunchroom and down in the basement where they had to go to play and things like that. Down at the end of the school was children that were slow, and they were taught by their teachers. And up over to the right-hand side of the school was me, for people with sight.
So did that get you? Did the teachers recognize your talent when it came to writing? Or
yeah, one day, I'll make it brief, I'll make it shorter. One day, I was looking over, I wanted to make people laugh. I don't know why, I don't even know why I think I even had the talent to do such a thing. But the school was a quiet school.
Right.
And in my area of school, they had green boards and yellow chalk, and great big yellow sheets of paper with the great big lines, and I learned to write real big. All my life I was writing big. People say, why you write so big? I said, I learned how to write big as a child.
Right.
And I just kept on doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line, I began to write. I was now heading on close to 8 years old now, while I'm in school. And I decided I wanted to write, so I wrote some sonnets about love and this and that, and cute little things about walking on stilts, back in the day when they used to have circuses.
Right.
See, I'm really aging myself right now.
Right.
But back in the day, they used to walk on stilts at the circus and stuff.
Right.
I started writing about biscuits and different things. I was making jokes out of things. So I began to write, and I put it on paper, and I passed it out. And it went all around the school, and everybody was laughing. I got a kick out of it.
Right.
I said, ooh, I was able to make them laugh.
Right.
Okay, so I continued to write after that, different little things, and they kept passing it around the school. I became inspired by their enjoying what I was writing.
Right.
So that was the beginning of me realizing I had a capability of a sorts.
Right.
To write. And then later in life, I wrote on a higher level of writing.
So how did you your very first book was The Key?
The Key was my first book.
Okay, how did that come about? And what was the name? And how did the name The Key come to you?
Just like you just said, The Key came to me because my second book was Open Door, Open Mind. And then Sparrow Speaks in this poetic African American history. And then Did You Know? African American Inventions. But the Lord let me do books. It appeared to me like every 10 years they came in succession. But to answer the question, I compiled my material for The Key. And as I wrote, raising my children, what have you, I just began to write at different times. I wasn't what you call a disciplined writer. I just wrote when I felt like it.
Right.
When something would come to me, when I was moved by something, I would begin to write. And one of the first things when Kennedy was assassinated, I was looking at the television, and he was assassinated at that time. And right after that, I began to write serious types of poems and poetry. And then I began to share it with other people. And then my dad caught on. I began to speak at some of the churches. And they began to ask me, where did I study writing and this and that. I said, I didn't study writing. It's a gift God has given to me.
Right.
And I continued to compile my book for The Key. And that's what I did. I just put it together.
So I wanted to give you all a glimpse of where she came from, because I'm actually, as she's speaking, I'm remembering in my mind how dedicated you were. Back in the day when people didn't even have home offices, my mom had a home office. She had a home office with desks in there. So as it came up to now, where it's natural and people are doing it now, we were living this type of life when we were just babies. I was watching you go through these things and do everything that you're doing. And I wanted to make sure that I got her on here for Black History Month because she is history. When I look at her, I look at the people who are going to the jails now, with Jesse Jackson Sr., how they go out to Cook County Jail and they visit, do all of this. My mom was doing this way back when I was a baby. I remember her going to the Cook County Jail, speaking to the kids, the children, the men. I'm not going from the children to the men, speaking with them about how they can come out great. And I'll never forget, it was a gentleman who painted a picture of her, a beautiful picture of who she was. And I said, Mom, this guy, and my mom said, he did this and he was in prison.
I actually became a pen pal with a number of the people that found themselves to be incarcerated. And they did do pictures. They even allowed me at different points to go out on the backyard where they were out playing ball and what have you. I could step out the door and watch them as they were playing. Inside, they had all the art lined up. Right. But I remember this one particular one who did the art for me with the brown hues in it. Just absolutely phenomenal. And he told me his story. He said, I've been in prison for years. He said, none of my family writes me. I don't hear from anybody. And that's how I started becoming pen pals with some of the prisoners. And I said, how did you find yourself to be incarcerated with the talent that you have? He said, my children were hungry. I didn't have food. And he said, I had a pen in one pocket and I had a knife in the other pocket. He said, I went down to the store and I was going to get a loaf of bread. And he said, I tried to steal the bread off the shelf, but I was caught. Now, he never ever pulled out the knife.
Right.
But when he was caught, he was arrested, and then he found himself to be incarcerated. They related to him like he was going to rob the store.
Right, right.
So he found himself being incarcerated. And then later on, he began to do all this art that was lined up against the wall in the prison downstairs. And I was looking at the beauty of the gift that God had given him in the area of art.
Right.
And he said, you know what? I'm making money now in prison, money that I couldn't make because I didn't have a job.
Right.
While I was out of prison. He said, they learned about my work. People come from north side, south side, west side. They visit the prisons, not myself, but other artists too. And they began to look at our work, and it's so beautifully done, and they see it and they know it. And they began to purchase the work. And so this is how they made money off their work, and I guess other half of the money goes to the jail, but they made a certain part of the money off of the work that they had done.
So what made you keep going back? Because I know you made numerous
I was called back as an artist to do things. And I would go and I wrote a piece in the book to journey with me, my entire journey from the time I stepped onto the elevator and went down. And I had to go and meet the prisoners, they call it inmates.
Right.
And I talked in my book about the yellow line that I had to walk on one side and the inmates had to walk on the other side.
Right.
And then we went on into the chapel. And they went in there and they played that soul music, you know, and I shared poetry. They said, today we happy to have with us the Sparrow. And I would share the material that I had prepared for that at that time. And so then they invited me other places to go, and other people kind of took spots that I should have had actually, but they invite me to other prisoners to come and join also.
So I want you guys to know, not only has she written books, but she's an educator also. She's worked in Lincoln Park High School.
No, I went to, I taught at Jordan Elementary School.
Jordan Elementary.
I taught at Lakeview High School.
Lakeview guy.
And then Harold Washington College for continuing education as an instructor. That also, because so when I retired as a retired teacher. And a very great experience there too. And I had a chance after sharing some material at the high school, they invited me to speak in 1997 as a speaker for the commencement address for Harold Washington College students.
Right.
So that was a great privilege.
Now, how do you feel, how can we get back on that page again? Like how we grew up in our neighborhoods, where the parents, you knew all of our friends, mothers, fathers, and
True.
And actually they brought them over to the house when you wanted to go do Sparrow reading and rap session.
Yeah, I was the founder, Darrell, as you know, of the Sparrow Reading and Rap Session Club. And that club came about because I looked on the corners at all the brothers standing together in front of stores gathered, just talking to one another. They didn't have jobs or anything at that time. It wasn't open for them to have a job.
Right.
And they would stand around, but I knew there's another Martin Luther King there. You know what I mean? Another Malcolm X standing there. I knew talent was there. So I started the reading club to begin to give them a place to go to express themselves.
Okay.
And I started that first club in Inglewood. They opened up the doors for me there. And then the downtown allowed me to do more programs. In the end, I had 9 different clubs. And some people had to take over some of them for me. I only go so many every 2 weeks because that's how you read your books. But I took everybody in the neighborhood. I scooped up.
I know.
They called me the Pied Piper.
The show did.
They called me the Pied Piper.
She made us read. She made us read, guys. We had to take certain books and read, and then come back and recite what we actually read.
Exactly.
And we got little treats. She would give out treats to everybody, and this became so normal that the whole neighborhood and in school, when we went to school, people would be like, "Man, I read the book." They couldn't wait to get to the Sparrow reading the rap session that we would have at the churches or some other locations that my mom would have it set up. But I want you guys to understand this. Not only was she doing that, she actually had a show. You had 2 shows.
Yeah, I had the Sparrow Community Outreach Program down on 22nd on Green Street.
Right.
I think it's 22nd Street down there.
Right.
It was just the studio down there. I think I had you host or bring me out one time when you were younger. This is good to give you all the opportunities to do that.
Right.
And I had a program there, and wherever I saw talent, I would scoop them up, give them my card, and tell them that I had a program, and they would look at me like I really didn't have one.
Right.
But then when they give me a call, I'd call them in and set them up to do programs. And you remember that group that they had that came in, they called A New Beginning. They came and they sang, and Channel 7 picked them up off of my show.
Right.
And they became very successful. And then later on, I found out they had bought a little condo over east. And I was very happy for them. But they got recognized from my program.
From your program.
Yes.
So that's what I actually, I just want you guys to know, I was trained, I would say, by the best. Because what I do right now in my life is I try to give the floor to other people for them to be recognized. My mom did that for so many years that to this day, it sticks with us because people remind us of how we grew up. And I think that, what do you feel about us getting back to that page with our children and with the youth that we have today?
What do I feel what?
What do you feel that we can do to get back to that page again, building that village again, because we really need it?
First of all, they're saying that we live in a divided world is really what they're trying to say, that there's a big division in our world. But that can be filled in, that space can be filled in by love, where you can cross that bridge that they say is divided.
Right.
People have to begin to care about one another and support one another in what they do. I think we're learning a big lesson today about good and bad and right and wrong through what is going on right now.
Right. Now, do you feel, and I always bring a lot of Black businesses on, a lot of Black artists, a lot of Black people who are doing things. Now, I'm not just pro-Black. I mean, I believe in everybody.
Yeah.
But I'm saying our communities. What do you feel, and I just want your knowledge on this, what do you feel it's going to take for us to start trusting each other to go to our businesses? I remember when we grew up, we had all these stores. We had so many Black businesses going up and down the street, and now we have none of that. We have some of it, but we don't have the trust that we used to have back when you guys were actually doing it.
I understand, but you know what? In my thinking right now, we're truly living in changing times. And as I study the Bible, I'm realizing we're like in the end time. And many things are changing because of, look at the way the world is going right now.
Right.
People are reaching out to people who are only taking from you, not giving to you. Your question to me was, how can we do things better and bring people in? What's going on right now, the message today, and how the people in power are beginning to teach other people. They're taking everything from everyone, not giving, not doing what we did when we were coming up, starting programs, bringing them to the library, letting them learn, and then we sharing gifts and letting them speak on the tape recorders, and they would say to me, "Oh, that's my voice." I said, "You did good. You're even going to go do better." Making them learn about themselves. Right now, they shutting down the libraries. Right now, they're trying to close down the educational system. It's the opposite going on right now.
Right.
We're living in a strange, hard time, but it's in the Word. And God's word will stand.
Right.
Because he said we're going to have a famine one day. We're going to have earthquakes one day. We're going to have fires one day. What's going on right now?
All of
earthquakes,
right.
fires. They're about to take away the farmers right now. And next you'll be leading to famine. You see?
Right.
And if you buy an egg, a package of eggs is almost $8. Used to be $2 and something. And before that it was $1 and something. Right. We're living in strange times.
So as family members, see what I'm watching is this, that we have what they've noticed about us, I'm just gonna say about minorities, is that we're infighters. We fight against each other. So they always use us against each other. I'm just wondering, in my mind and in my heart and my spirit, when are we gonna come together and realize that we need, you got a president in the office right now that they know has done a slew of things, has been convicted of so many different things, but they still stood behind him and they got him into that seat again. When are we gonna wake up and realize that we have to do the same thing? Because we all make mistakes in life. We all make mistakes.
We understand that we're not perfect. We understand that we're not born into a perfect world.
Right, but then I think that it should be us being able to speak to someone, each other, and say, hey, I know you made this mistake, but you can go about it this way. What do you feel?
What I was trying to say was, I understand what you're saying in regards to that. People today are so fearful of tomorrow because they do not know what's going to happen because things are moving fast.
Right.
Like you said, one lady you knew, 17 members of her family within the last day or two have been snatched up and taken away.
Right.
We're living in a different time. It does not mean we can't love one another. The Lord said in the second commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right.
And he wasn't just talking about neighbors in the neighborhood, down the block and around the corner.
Right.
He was talking about neighboring countries. Love people in other countries. So if we begin to do the one thing we need to do is obey his word, we'll be all right. But that's not what's going on. They're following other people and their leads. Like some people said, I voted for him. I thought he was going to do. Well, if you're voting for someone who lies all the time, what's making you think he's going to do for you what he said he was going to do?
Right.
He's not going to do that.
Right.
You learn in the hard way because you're following man. Lord said, follow me.
Right. Right.
So there's the difference. They're following the wrong leader. Leader.
So my thing is this. I think that we got to get together with the parents too, because we have so many young people having kids. And I mean, younger and younger and younger and younger.
We have to keep up the programs we have that we already had. We're trying to bring young people together and get from them the best that we can get from them. I can explain that through poetry. I express myself basically when they say the Sparrow speaks. I really speak through my writing.
Right.
And I wanted to share something with you today as we deal with Black history right now. If it's okay with you,
go ahead, sure.
I'd like to be able to share the poem Dare to Care. But what I wanted to say before I say that is that as we think about our Black history right now, as we celebrate our Black history, there are many, many great leaders of the past, of the present,
right,
whose shoulders we stand on.
Right.
We stand on their shoulders. They were first. But now the baton really has been passed down to us. It's in our hands. So what are we going to do? So my thoughts was, not only do you care about the changes that are going on in society, but dare to care.
Okay.
And that's the poem I wanted to share with you today, which is in my book,
and that's
Sparrow Speaks.
Yeah, that's in Sparrow Speaks.
Yes.
Please share that.
So would you, is it all right with you if I share that?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you my poem, Dare to Care, in thinking about 2025. Here we are in another year. What's going to happen now? Do you care? With all the things that have happened around us in the years gone by, the achievements, bereavements, excitement, indictments, the meeting, the beating, the trying, the lying, the love, the hate, the trust, and the fear. Let us prove this year that we're finally aware of the reason that we were all born, aware for no one should we feel scorn, aware of our responsibilities to ourselves and to others, aware of our need to love all of our brothers, aware of darkness and aware of day, aware of the reason why we all must pray. Yes, let's prove this year that we do care by doing our best in all our affairs. Be it going to school to learn a lesson or going to church to ask a blessing, going to work, visit, or play, or just stopping to rest at the end of the day. Let us pour out our hearts to those who still hate and degrade us and desire to kill. Let us show them their error and show them our love. That same love that God sheds on all men from above. So I say to you today, not only do you care, but dare to care. Dare to care. Dare to care. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, if you guys notice, a lot of my commentary that I do, I always say, dare to care. That came from my mom. And that was instilled in me so much that I dare to care for people. I truly do dare to care. I reach out when I see something going wrong or something going right, I dare to care. I want to help get everyone to a level in life where they're comfortable, where they're believing in the Lord, first of all,
Yes,
but
number one.
also being careful with themselves, loving themselves. When they say dare to care, you got to dare to care about yourself. My mom taught me that. You have to care about yourself in order to be able to care about someone else.
Exactly.
So you have to dare to care. So remember that. I want you to tell them where they can get your books at, Mom, because we have a certain period of time. Can you tell them where to get? And I'm saying Mom, but it's Sparrow.
They can contact me through my email, and when they call, if they according to what book they want, whether it's a Sparrow Speaks book or Did You Know, which was just about the inventions. That's a wonderful book.
This is a beautiful book, guys.
Yes, it is.
This is
The
Did
children.
You Know?
Yes.
African American Inventions.
Yeah.
By Barbara Julian
And
Dean.
all the other
Sparrow.
artists are in the other one.
And all of the artists that you
all
want.
of them.
And
I wrote about Jesse Jackson. I wrote about Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
Coretta King. I wrote about all of them really in that one.
You got Sammy Davis Jr. You got all these people
Yes,
in here, and I can remember when you told me that some of
I
those
received
people,
a letter
that's
from
what
him.
I was going to
from
say.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Right.
That was when I was doing my first book,
Mm-hmm.
and he sent me a letter, and he told me that he had put it in his personal library.
Mm-hmm.
I kept a copy of the letter,
Right.
and I kept a copy of the envelope.
Right.
And he said, I have it in my personal library,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, I want you to keep up the good work
Right.
that you are doing. And I just treasured that letter. And then I received other letters from librarians and, as I went along. When they received material from me, they would always send me letters or invite me out to speak in various libraries. But throughout the years, I've been doing Q&A on radio shows and things like that back in the day. Not so much now. People are in a struggle today. They're in a struggle because society is changing right before their eyes. Some people don't know whether they're coming or where they're going. They just don't know. And I know that everything we do happens according to the way we think. I understand there's a book that's been written with 90 pages in it. And in those 90 pages of that book that was written of 2025, in that book, it is taking something from everybody. Whether it's your Social Security, whether it's your health, whether it's your education, whether it's your federal job,
Right.
whether it's the post office, whatever it might be,
Right.
it's taking things away. How did it happen? Everybody who wrote something in that book to make that book a book was taking something away from the individual citizens in this country. How did it happen? It happened because of the way they think. Has to do with money, has to do with power. But then one of the writers I know, his name was James Allen. He said, evil is the thought that thinks it. Good the thought that makes it so. Light and darkness, sin and pureness. Likewise, out of thinking grow.
Mm-hmm.
So if you dwell your thoughts upon the grandest, then the grandest you will see. And if you fix your mind upon the highest, then the highest you will be. You see, we can be no greater than our thoughts.
Right.
So if our thoughts are narrow and dwarfed, likewise will our circumstances be.
Right.
Somebody got to thinking, and they put together 90 pages.
Right.
And all they're doing is taking from people. We got to think on how we're going to be able to change that around.
Right.
To make it right. Walk in the Lord, trust in the Lord. Ask Him to guide your way.
Right.
To bring us through this time. Because God knows the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right.
He knows it all. He's the shepherd, we're the sheep of His pasture.
That's right.
All we have to do in the end, no matter what we do, is obey His word. Obeying His word is obeying His will. And when you do that, all will be well.
All will be well.
Thank you.
You guys, you got that? I hope you're listening to this because, first of all, I do want you to get these 2 books again. I'm going to bring these books back out. This is Sparrow Speaks. It's a poetic African-American history in this book. Guys, you get this book, you're going to enjoy it from top to bottom.
Thank you.
Every one of these points in here has it has something to it where you're going to get some type of emotion. It's going to touch you in some type of way. And I've been blessed to have a mom that I got my own autographed copy. You can't have this one. And also the inventions of African Americans that she wrote. This is something that we must keep in our children's hands. Mom, where can they get this book from?
Well, they contact me in my email, which is Sparrowfoot.
Tell them.
Sparrowfoot50@gmail.com. When you call about which book you like or want, then I'll take it from there and tell them, because the books are actually $20.
Okay, I was going to ask that because
the books are $20 just a piece,
right?
Individually, they're sold at a higher price than that. I really brought the price down, and probably $3 for the shipment. So like $23 in all would be for the book.
So once again, that email.
Sparrow, SPARROWFOOTE 50@gmail.com. And I would look forward to hearing from you. I appreciate your support in terms of my book. I know you will enjoy it.
These are the books,
because
guys.
it's really God-given. It is God-given. God has blessed me mightily, and how I thank Him. And all I want to do is share the gifts He has given me with you, because it is actually for you. I wrote it is for people to read.
And I want to say this. I don't know how much time I got my producer in here, but I want to say this about today's time. What I'm noticing, guys, in our communities, they're feeding us a lot of bull crap. They'd rather you look at all of this inbreeding, fighting with the musicians, which they never did when you guys were growing up. The different groups, they came together, they worked together, they enjoyed each other, they supported each other. What do we have now? We got people who are making diss records, dissing each other, to the point where some people are actually being murdered over words, guys, and we're murdering our own people. This is Black History Month. It's nowhere in the world we should have had any artists out here that are minority artists fighting with each other, because that's what they wanted us to see. On top of us saying this is Black History Month, they got us all fighting against each other and saying this and that about each other, which doesn't mean a thing. Because in the end, it's all money, which money is the root of what?
Evil.
It's the root of evil. And they know that this little piece of paper is going to change our minds, and they know how to flick it on us. But it's time for us now to come out. It's time for us to come out of this, guys.
Well, do you remember when I put the club together, the particular piece that I wrote about good, better, and best, that all the people are they're older now and they have children, those who were in the club back in the day.
Right.
And they say they still remember that poem that I gave me. We opened up our classes with that in the libraries, which was good, better, or best. Never let it rest until the good is better and the better is best.
Right.
It's good to be good, but it's better to be best. And you best be about it when, and you would say now. And I would say, you don't have to wait to be the best that you can be. And we don't.
That's right.
We can come together by trying to do our best, even in these times of turmoil. We have to get out of that the best that we can get to make our lives better. In order for us to survive, we have to do that.
We have to. And I want you guys to understand the reason why I continue to do this today. Sometimes I can feel slighted in life by dealing with some people. And I say, well, God, give me strength to continue on the path that you have me on. And I want you guys to understand this. Black history is this. It starts with the family. It starts with the family.
Everything has a beginning. It starts with the family.
And it's not just the family in your home. It's the families around us. So what I wanted to do today, guys, I wanted to bring Mom on today so you guys to understand that that's my mom. She taught me how to be Darrell H. Dean, the Dean's List. She taught me how to be the Dean's List, but she also taught me to bring others into the fold. And that's what we're doing today, guys. We're bringing you into the fold. We're bringing early on history to middle history to history that we're going to have in the future. So we want you guys to understand this, and I want you to say something comfortable to the people before we go off the air tonight that gives them a word of encouragement for today's time.
I would say to you, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God, and He shall direct your path. So even in the middle of all of this that's going on today, God is the answer. He is the way, He's the truth, and He's the life.
You got that?
And He's my Heavenly Father. Hallelujah, Jesus.
Yes, He is. And I want you guys to understand, we love you, and there ain't nothing, I mean absolutely nothing you can do about it. I have no enemies out there because enemy is not in my heart. Love is in my heart.
Yes.
God is in my soul and my
there
spirit.
Be love.
And He leads and guides me. And I'm saying we all need to do that, guys. And I want you guys to know we want to thank you for being on the Dean's List today.
Thank you.
We want to thank you to listening to the few moments that this great lady here, Miss Barbara Julian Dean, the Sparrow, speaks today to you guys, because she wants you to know she loves you. We love you. And we want you guys to know that we're going to continue.
And God loves you.
Right. We're going to continue to do shows like this, guys. And I want to thank you, Mom, for coming on
and
today.
I thank you for inviting me.
And I want everyone to see it ain't nothing wrong with hanging with your parents. It ain't nothing wrong with it. Because guess what? It's nothing but knowledge. And it's good sense. Good sense. So you guys, we want you guys to stay blessed. We want you to tune in next week. We got a great guest that's coming on next week. We're going to be going to so many different platforms. I'm working with a great guy. I have to say, Brian, you're a great guy. And I want everyone to know that we're going to continue this on. And we want you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Dean's List. We want you to subscribe to it. We're going to be coming on every week, guys, bringing you special content. Not just content, special content. Because anyone that sits on this couch is special.
Yes.
You're special. And she's special today. Mama, I love you.
I love you.
And I'm not ashamed to say it.
Yes.
Stay blessed, guys. Keep your head up. And remember, stay together. Because when we get together, there's nothing they can do with us. Nothing. But give us that road to keep going forward. That's what we need in life. Stay blessed. You've been on the Dean's List tonight. We love you.
Do you want to buy a home but don't have the credit or down payment? Call Carol Dean from Nexa Mortgage at 773-447-8941 for your free consultation. Carol can help you with down payment assistance as well as credit restoration. Carol can get you approved and on the road to home ownership. Call Carol Dean today at 773-447-8941. You won't regret it.